I'm joined by Secretary Preeti Patel. Thank you so much, ma'am, for talking to Public TV. My first question is, there's been a recent partnership of migration and mobility between India and UK. How do you think it's going to benefit both the countries?
Well, it's a landmark agreement. It's the first time our governments, the two governments, have put together this agreement. And actually, it speaks to the strength of the UK-India relationship. It's one of fairness and equality in terms of what we're striving to achieve. So what this agreement means is that this will solidify our people-to-people ties. So migration, young people, young professionals will be able to come from India to the United Kingdom to live and work in the UK. And also British young people will also be able to go to India as well. It's the first time we've had that type of partnership where we are reciprocating in this particular way. And there are many other aspects of this agreement too that link to effectively our people-to-people ties, immigration changes that we brought in. It's building upon our points-based immigration system that I launched last year. And also we have now formalised this week our graduate route as well, which is a post-study visa route,
exactly,
where a lot of Indian students are coming to the United Kingdom for their education, which is brilliant. And then, of course, they'll have the opportunity to gain employment once they've completed their degrees.
Talking about that, the majority of the students in the UK are from India. So how do you think PSW, which is going to start from next month onwards, how do you think it's going to benefit the Indian students?
Well, of course it will, and it will also benefit the UK in many, many ways. First of all, it's going to enrich our university system and our academia. But secondly, it's worth just noting that last year alone, 56,000 student visas were granted to students from India, and that's an increase on the previous year of 13%. And with that in mind, of course, it speaks to talent, global talent coming to the United Kingdom, bolstering our economy, but also strengthening those people-to-people ties that I speak about. So clearly it's going to benefit Indian students who, if I may say so, I think have a natural affinity with the United Kingdom. Our big diaspora community has a lot to do with that as well. I'm sure having members of the Indian diaspora in the British government also strengthens that point too. But I think it's really important just to emphasise that connectivity between our two countries.
And talking about students, my last question to you is, when will India be out from the red list? Because the September intake is already here, and there are a lot of people travelling and planning to come to UK. But because of the high quarantine fees, they are avoiding. So when do you think India would be out?
Well, I think first of all, we have to be very, very mindful and conscientious of coronavirus, the pandemic and the ability to spread variants of concern. That is why we have red listing. We have the traffic light system, red, amber, green. And obviously, we want to absolutely make sure that we can overcome what we're seeing with variants of concern. So in the United Kingdom, we're able to sequence, genomically test all sorts of variants. But specifically on red listing, we will continue to follow all the scientific advice and data that comes to the British government. You've mentioned students that are coming. They will need to quarantine, rightly so. And there are many provisions being made through the universities to make sure that students from red-listed countries come, that they be part of that managed quarantine service, that whole area of testing but being in quarantine, so that they can then be clear. We want everyone to be clear of the virus so that they can then get back to studying, and it's the studying component that is so, so important. So we're having to live with this virus. We are making adaptations, as I've said, through the quarantine service, through test and release. That will continue until we've got all confidence that we are moving on from this awful pandemic.
Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.